Jeff Cole here at the Digital News Desk with Mayor Sarah Pierce for the City of Watertown on our Monday the 16th, and we'd like to sit down with the mayor just before the meetings or work sessions on the Monday evening, and so that's why we're here. Good to see you.
Good to see
Thanks
you
for
too.
checking in.
Thank you.
Swimming attendance, that was something that we covered last week here at Channel 7. The numbers are in. Things are better than last year with 2 pools running. It doesn't put away the controversy in terms of what pools or how many pools should be open, but what's your response to seeing the popularity of pools for the summer?
Well, given the amount of taxpayer dollars that we've invested in these recreational assets, I think it's great that they're being used. It's great to see people from here in the city, throughout the county, and beyond using these recreational assets that we've invested so much money in. I think, it was certainly a rainy summer, but also a hot summer. When it was hot, it was really hot. So I think there was definitely a need for the pools, and I'm glad to see that the Thompson Park pool's being used and then the Flynn pool on the north side being used as well.
Do you think because it was opened up to more people, or at least more people were told, hey, you can come and use this, military folks, do you think that may have helped with it?
I think that probably played into the increased usage. I think, also there's so much talk about pools when it comes to city council throughout the year and making headlines as far as pools go. So I think that probably helps raise the awareness. And I think there was also a lot of hype around the new pool on the north side. So again, it's great to see that being used.
So what's the situation with the pool down at the Fairgrounds?
So at this point, the pool, obviously it did not open this past summer. Me personally, my position has not changed. I think that given the size of our community, it's appropriate to have only 2 pools. We obviously have some fiscal challenges coming up in the future, so I think that it's in our best interest to stay at that 2 pool level. I think that serves the community, and I think that that's the way to go.
What would be the investment for that pool if it had to be rehabbed? Are we looking at another $3-4 million?
The pool at the Fairgrounds?
At the Fairgrounds?
No, I think that, really it would only be the operating cost for that because it was up until this past year up and running, so there are no significant investments to the tune of $3 or $4 million. It's just, there are probably some things that if it were to be opened back up would have to be addressed, but then you also have the annual operating cost of $200,000 or so. For
staffing, for chemicals, for just the electricity, et cetera, right?
Correct.
So do you feel that that's going to become another contentious argument in council?
We obviously, when we discussed the pool at the Fairgrounds this past budget cycle, it was not the first time that it came up. It came up previously, and I will say that this time around, there was, I felt, far less controversy. I don't even think I was contacted by anybody who was saying keep this pool open. I think that there's a realization amongst the community that, hey, we spent a lot of money, whether that be on golf courses or another new pool. It's probably the most prudent thing to do to live within our means here and have only 2 pools open. So I think an overwhelming majority of the public understands that. They understand where we are now financially. They understand the concerns for the future. So I think I would hope that there won't be so much controversy surrounding that pool moving forward. And ideally, I think you could probably, hopefully, use that space for another type of recreational asset. Maybe it's, you'd have to, of course, look at costs and what sort of grant funding opportunities might be out there, but, maybe it's a splash pad there. Maybe it's an outdoor ice rink that would provide a little bit more ice availability. I think there are options that would cost less to operate, and that would be the goal.
The thought of having pools in each community, right? Have something represented on each side of the city so that local kids can get there. But of course, kids get around different ways now. Sure. They more have bikes and can get whatever. Is it an option? Has anyone even thought about if everybody, the kids that wanted to use the pool down at the Fairgrounds, because they could walk there, they can get there easily, wouldn't it be cheaper to have a bus? Pick them up and take them to another pool and have that service? Instead of $200,000 to run a pool, you spend $10 for a bus for the summer?
I wholeheartedly agree with that, and that is something that we did several years ago. We had a shuttle bus that was taking people, I believe it was up to the park pool, and it was minimally used. I want to say like less than a dozen people took advantage of it. So, maybe that's Maybe the reason for that is we didn't promote it enough. We tried to promote it, but the interest in using it just wasn't there. But maybe it's something to explore in the future.
Another thing that'll come up tonight during some staff reports will be hydroelectricity, right? The Hydrodam, the money that the city is making from the production of electricity through the Black River. It's been rainy. We've seen the amount of rain in Lewis County and what it's done there as it comes down the Black River and goes through the power dam. Watertown is raking in money quite a bit. And so the summer's been lucrative for the city. And that's a good thing because that's revenue for the city. And that's one of many ways the city can make money in which it needs to right now.
Correct, yes. So it's good to see the rain. It's good to see those numbers going up. Of course, as you said, we had a wet summer, so that definitely, obviously, that's the main factor, and it played into that. And it's good to see that we're able to make a little bit more money in that.
Now that contract ends 2030, I believe.
Correct.
2031 you start new, and it's millions of dollars. What's the total that the city makes off of hydro?
Starting out, I think when we get to that point, it's going to be about a $6 million hit to the budget, which I think if anybody who's watched our budget proceedings this past budget session, it was very hard to cut things from the budget and get that proposed tax rate increase down. It was going through things with a fine-tooth comb to not hit the taxpayers with the amount that was originally proposed. So when you factor that figure that I just mentioned into the budget, that obviously makes things that much harder. So that's, I think, why myself, some of my colleagues have kind of been preaching the fiscal conservancy aspect of things, but it's going to be a big hit to the budget coming up, and it's something that we need to prepare for, something we have been trying to prepare for. That we had a hydropower committee recently came up with a few proposals of how to move forward when that contract does end. I think it's a matter now of just deciding which route to go and kind of getting that ball in motion.
Any conversations with the state? Because as we know, Governor Hochul wants to go electric with a lot of things. Clean energy, and has an aggressive policy to have a lot of things go to electricity. The deadline which she has for the state to meet some of these goals, she may not be able to do what she wants to do. And so are there conversations to have with the state to say, hey, we have this, could this be part of a state solution, or could the state help us do something with ours to make it so that Watertown is off the grid and using a renewable energy source, and the city could be incentivized for anything of that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. As far as the state definitely is moving in that direction of renewables and green energy, and I think there probably is an opportunity for Watertown there. It's not anything that we have put tremendous effort into as far as lobbying our state officials to pay attention to what we have here in Watertown and see how we might be able to play a role, but I think there's definitely an opportunity there moving forward. The legislature will be getting back into session in January, and I think that that's something that we could definitely pursue along with our state elected officials trying to make the case for that.
Yeah, $6 million is a big hit. I like going through budgets and crunching numbers, but I'm not going to do that math here today because that's a ridiculous amount of money when it comes to how much you'd have to raise taxes. Speed on Thompson Boulevard and other city streets. Councilmember Cliff Olney brought this up. It was a constituent's concern, I believe, and it's not easy to change a speed limit on a city street.
No, it's not. You need to get approval from the state in order to do that, which can be quite a process. I can recall when I was working in Senator Ritchie's office, we would get requests from local municipalities looking to change the speed limit of certain roadways, and a lot of times you'd have to introduce a bill, and then of course it takes a long time usually for the bill to get passed by both houses, so it's certainly a process. So as far as changing the speed limits locally, it's something, maybe there's a workaround there that we wouldn't have to get state approval, but it's my understanding that it would require state approval. So one of the things that we have been doing in those problem areas, one of them that comes to mind would be Bourbon Avenue. I was contacted by a number of residents on that street, and what has helped is getting those speed trailers out so people can see how fast that they're going. So that's one aspect of attacking this problem. I also think it probably comes down to stepping up the enforcement. If our officers are out and they see someone speeding, it's not uncommon, I don't think, to see vehicles in the city of Watertown going 40+ miles an hour. So I think the cracking down and ticketing is probably another aspect of making our streets safer as far as speeding goes.
Putting up more stop signs at some of the intersections?
That could be one of the solutions.
Is that a local solution, or does that have to go to state?
No, that's a local solution. That's been suggested, I know, in past years. Hasn't come up recently, but there's, I know, a couple different kind of problem areas that we often, or I often hear from people, why don't you put a stop sign there? So maybe that is another part of the solution, but I think for now it's increased enforcement, and those speed trailers, as I said, have been proven to make a bit of a difference when it comes to the speeding.
I think the council member's email regarding it talked about speed bumps, and in my head, in a North Country winter, I mean, the last thing a plow driver wants to have are speed bumps.
I don't know that I'm on board with the speed bump solution.
Yeah. All right, there's something else on the agenda here tonight that's called the Community Development Block Grant Program. There's an acronym, CDBG. What is that for people that don't know?
So for people who don't know, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of people don't know what the CDBG program is, but it's a federal program where municipalities get funding from the federal government to take care of needs and different projects in areas of the city that are low to moderate income. You need to meet certain criteria in different parts of the city to be able to have a project that's funded with these CDBG funds. So for example, we've been able to do a number of different street projects, street reconstruction projects, especially on the north side recently. Seward Street, Grant Street, Henry Street, I believe, was in the last CDBG program. A number of playground improvements. The playground on the north side was able to be improved. Playground on Hamel Street, improvements there. So as I said, there's a lot of different projects, and it's not limited to like capital projects like a street improvement. We've also been able to fund different food pantry programs with CDBG dollars. So for example, the Watertown City School District Backpack Program, that's been a recipient of CDBG funds. So really the purpose of the program, again, it's a federal program, and the purpose is supporting those low to moderate income families, low to moderate income areas of the city.
How much money is that each year that the program brings in?
Typically, I believe in tonight's agenda, we got our figures for the coming year. It's just over $800,000, but typically around that $800,000 range every year.
And so doing the street projects, and does some of that get coupled? Is there any kind of a backing of local money that has to go with it? Do you have to do a match with it?
With some of the projects, it's not required. I don't believe that you have a local match, but with some of the projects, we do match those dollars. And
finally, I'll ask you about the Bandstand roof construction project in Thompson Park, right? That's a project that a lot of people are behind, an idea of a couple of people in the city. Where does that stand? Because everything came in a little bit too expensive.
Yes, so we had to rebid that, and then on tonight's agenda, what people are going to see is there's a change order, and that's in order to basically reconstruct the surface level there, the area where people will be standing or playing on, so basically a new floor for the bandstand. And this is a great project. It's, I think, a perfect example of a community project where you have, as you mentioned, a community group that's raising funds for the effort. And making something like this happen. I kind of liken it to the splash pad at Thompson Park, where you had Rotary raising funds, you had grant money coming in from other sources. So I think it's awesome when you can have community volunteers who take the initiative like this to make things happen in the community that are positive for everybody. So my hat's off to the group that worked on this.
All right, Mayor Pierce, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming in. As mayor, we give you the opportunity, but full disclosure and full fairness, if another council member wanted to come in to talk about things, if things got controversial, and there's another side to another story or a story, we welcome that. It's not an exclusive thing that we do with the mayor, but we open it up to the mayor because of the position with the city, and it's an opportunity to give you the information in terms of educating you and what's on the agenda for the different meetings, whether it's a council meeting or a work session. So thanks for the time. We appreciate it very much.